Hello, Visionary Woman. Today I want to talk about my Substack. I want to read an essay that I wrote and released a few weeks ago that got a lot of nice attention and people felt really seen and heard from it. So over on Substack, I post bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks or fortnightly, really supportive essays and often things like audits or tools. So I have one that is using some of your astrology to help your marketing go viral, which is a trick that I use with my clients and myself. I have one coming up telling you exactly what kind of content you need to be making according to your human design. And I have a lot of articles around like how to build different systems and how to plan ahead, how to plan your year, how to take breaks while still earning well in your business. And those are coming out every fortnight and they're there for you. You can save them for later or you can read them straight away when you get them in your inbox. They're a little bit more information and a bit deeper than what I send in my newsletter, which is my email newsletter, which is more of like a wrap up and some kind of little points. These are deep dives. So if you resonate with any of those ideas, please have a look at the brand standard on Substack. And I'm going to be reading an article to you today, which I think resonated with a lot of women business owners, which is more leaning on the livable philosophy side of things. So I do a lot of articles that are around branding, around business, around aesthetics, but also around what I call livable philosophy, which is taking concepts like stoicism and existentialism and bringing them into a more functional way of using them in your everyday life. And the brand standard is often in the top 50 rising in philosophy on Substack. So it's really what we like to call mirror content. So it's me reflecting back to you what I know is going on with you, not only because I've worked with almost 700 women one-to-one, but also because I've been exactly where you are now. And I remember, and I'm not on a pedestal now, but I know what it felt like and I can talk to it. So let's get into this recent essay. I will be reading it, which is not what I normally do on the podcast, so it might sound a little bit different. You're not confused, you're avoiding the decision. Clarity, procrastination, and the uncomfortable truth most women business owners refuse to admit. There is a kind of mental loop that feels deceptively productive, one that gives the impression of movement while quietly keeping you exactly where you are. You revisit the same idea from slightly different angles, you journal on it, you talk it through, you seek perspective, you gather insight, and all the while you tell yourself that you are getting closer to clarity, that you are almost there, that with just a little more time you will feel certain enough to move. But the decision itself remains untouched. Confusion is often positioned as something that needs to be solved, something that requires more thinking, more explanation, more time, but often than not, it is something that is being maintained. Something that exists not because you don't know, but because fully acknowledging what you do know would require you to take action. Because beneath the confusion, there is usually a decision that already exists, one that feels clear but inconvenient, obvious but uncomfortable, aligned but requiring a level of responsibility you are not quite ready to hold. So instead of making the decision, you stay in motion around it. You gather more information, you explore more options, you continue to engage with the idea in a way that feels active enough to justify itself while avoiding the one thing that would actually move you forward. Clarity is not something you find at the end of enough thinking. It is something that becomes available the moment you are willing to stop avoiding what you already know, the moment you allow yourself to see the decision in front of you without immediately looking for a way to soften it or delay it or a reason to not action it. This is why decisive women move differently, not because they have access to better information or better certainty, but because they are willing to act in the presence of uncertainty. They are willing to move before everything feels resolved. They are willing to create clarity through action rather than waiting for it to arrive. Avoidance, on the other hand, keeps you suspended in a state that feels safer in the moment, but gradually erodes your momentum, your energy, and your sense of self-trust. Because each time you circle a decision instead of making it, you reinforce the idea that you cannot rely on yourself to follow through. In you finding yourself in this loop, it is worth gently turning your attention away from what else you might need to understand and towards what you're already aware of but have not yet acted on, and then looking honestly at what feels uncomfortable about it, because that discomfort is usually the threshold. It may require you to let go of something you've outgrown, to commit more fully than you have before, to close off options that have allowed you to stay in limbo, or to step into a version of yourself that feels slightly ahead of where you currently are, none of which will be resolved by more thinking. At a certain point, clarity stops being something you wait for and becomes something you create through the decisions you are willing to make and the things you are willing to take action on. If this resonated with you today, let me know. Make sure you share the podcast, rate, review, follow, all the things, and check out the brand standard on Substack if you would like a little more of these vibes.